can't make grand statements about how important or how helpful this discourse of a Jewish indigeneity is for global politics. But what I want to say is that this has been fundamental to all settler colonial projects. So self-indigenization of colonizers within colonial contexts is writ large, right? So you can see it at work in the United States, in Canada. There's huge amounts of many examples of people being outed as having claimed to be Indigenous for many years and then being discovered to have no Indigenous heritage whatsoever. And so, I don't think that it's helpful for us to think about this in psychological terms, although some people have approached it in those terms. It's much more important to see it in terms of, what it actually does for the colonial project, to be able to claim to be Indigenous to a land that you have colonized obviously lends a justification to that project of colonization. And I think Zionism takes it to a level that cannot be achieved by any of these other colonial contexts because, of course, of the manipulation of, a history, if you like, but a kind of a biblical narrative about Jewish existence in the area now known as Palestine. And that kind of lends it an extra weight. But the important thing about this, and the last thing I'll say about it, is what that idea has lent to nativist projects within Europe. Okay, so now we see European white supremacists refer to themselves as indigenous and now being invaded under this, rubric of the Great Replacement by hordes of kind of marauding others, Muslims and other migrants that are kind of usurping the rightful place of the indigenous people. And obviously, we know that indigeneity is a colonial relation. So indigenous peoples, people who we think of as being indigenous today, did not refer to themselves as indigenous to anything before they were colonized. They were named indigenous by their colonizers, and then indigeneity takes on a political tenor in terms of, fighting back against colonialism. So for Europeans who are the instigators of colonialism on the world stage to then refer to themselves as indigenous is again this self-indigenizing, which is a project or a tool, a technology of racial colonial power.